All right, hello everyone. So, as you all know, you're heading into classrooms that are, well, they're changing fast because of AI. And to navigate that world, you're going to need more than just a user manual for the latest app. What we're doing here is giving you a critical lens, a framework really, to help you unpack the AI tools you'll be using and maybe even designing yourselves one day.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about the big choice every AI designer has to make. Then we'll dive into the two major schools of thought behind AI. After that, we'll get our hands dirty with a practical framework for checking out these tools ethically. We'll link all of that back to learning science and then wrap up by talking about where you fit into all of this.
So let's start here. I want you to think about any AI learning tool you've ever used. Could be a language app, could be a chatbot that helps with research, whatever. Deep down, way before a single line of code was written, someone made a really fundamental choice. And it wasn't about programming languages, it was a philosophical choice. And that decision completely shapes how that AI interacts with student, which of course has a massive impact on their learning.
And this right here, this is the core question, the big dilemma. How do you design these things? Do you go all in on making it feel human, super seamless and natural? Or do you prioritize being upfront and honest, making it clear that you're talking to a machine? It's a real balancing act.
And look, the stakes are incredibly high. This quote, it just nails it. Every single design decision can either augment, help and support the learner, or it can corrupt the experience, and that could mean exploiting a student's trust, even if that wasn't the designer's intention. So this core dilemma basically creates a fork in the road for designers. Two completely different paths they can take. Okay, so path number one is what we could call the deception route. The whole goal here is to make the AI so good, so human-like, that you literally can't tell it's a machine. That's the classic Turing test, right? Where tricking the user is the ultimate win. But you gotta ask, is that what we want for our students? Is fooling them the goal?
Then there's the other path, which is all about transparency. The philosophy here is totally different. It says, hey, in education, trust beats trickery every time. If a student knows they're working with an AI, you get rid of the risk of manipulation. You can build an honest relationship that's actually, better for learning in the long run.
Okay, so that brings us to the big how. As educators, as people who will be leading the charge on this, how do we actually pull these tools apart? How can we look under the hood and really see what design choices were made? Well, here you go. We've got a 5-part framework that's basically a toolkit for doing just that. Let's walk through it. First up is tone. This is all about how the AI sounds, how it communicates. So picture this, a therapy bot for students that's programmed for reflective listening. It's really good at just mirroring back what a student says. But what happens when that student actually needs a challenge or a new perspective? A human knows when to pivot, but an AI could just get stuck on that one setting, and that's not always helpful for real growth. Number 2, sense of trust. This is a big one. Designers are making a conscious choice about building trust with the user. And trust is powerful, right? But it's a double-edged sword. Think about an AI that learns a user's biases and just feeds them back what they want to hear. Sure, that builds trust fast, but it also turns the AI into an echo chamber, a perfect tool for spreading misinformation and cementing bad ideas instead of challenging them. Third is situatedness. This is just a fancy word for remembering that context is king. Learning doesn't happen in a bubble, so an AI's communication style matters. What's seen as direct and efficient in, say, Germany might feel really blunt or rude to a student in Mexico, and suddenly, you've got a cultural barrier that gets in the way of learning. This is huge for the diverse classrooms you'll be teaching in. Okay, number 4, visual reminders. Look, we all have terms and conditions blindness, right? We just scroll and click agree. So just telling someone once at the beginning, by the way, this is an AI, that's not enough. Good design uses little, persistent cues, like a small robot icon in the corner, that are always there. It's a constant, gentle reminder that you're talking to a machine, so nobody feels like they were duped. And finally, number 5, we have release valves. Super important. These are just escape hatches. When the AI is just not getting it and the user is getting frustrated, there has to be a way out. The perfect example is when you're arguing with an airline chatbot and it finally says, "Would you like to speak to a human?" Yes! In a classroom, imagine an AI math tutor that's just going in circles. A good release valve would be a simple button, "Get help from my teacher." Now, this is where it gets really interesting for us as educators, because this whole design framework, it plugs right into the learning science principles you already know. Take cognitive load and automation bias. You know these terms. If an AI is clunky and confusing, it jacks up the cognitive load, and learning just stops. But
If it's too smooth, too helpful, then we run into automation bias, where students just blindly trust whatever the AI spits out without thinking for themselves.
And here's the kicker. That release valve we talked about, that's not just a technical feature. It's a pedagogical strategy. It's a design choice that directly supports learning. It gives the student control. It lets them manage their own cognitive load and tells them it's okay to step away and use their own brain. This whole idea is basically the heart of human-centered design, or HCD. HCD is the ethical compass here. It argues that technology has to put the user's well-being first, way ahead of just keeping them engaged. It's all about clear communication, transparency, and giving users the final say. Which brings us to the most important piece of this whole puzzle. Your role. You're not just going to be passive users of this stuff. You are the future leaders, the curriculum designers, the critical thinkers who are going to decide how AI is actually used in the classroom. Listen, the point of all this isn't to make you an expert on one specific chatbot. That tool will be outdated in 6 months. The real goal is for you to master this framework, because with this framework, you can look at any AI tool, today or 10 years from now, and see the teaching philosophy and the ethical decisions that are baked right into it. So I want to leave you with this question to carry with you. As you go on to design learning experiences, how are you going to make sure that the tech you choose serves the student first, and not the system? This framework we've gone over, think of it as your starting point. It's your tool for building a future where EdTech actually augments learning and never, ever corrupts it.